sharp, G sharp, and 5 C sharp. The notes that it says on the bottom of those bowls that I put together a long time ago. I have a new patron, and I want to acknowledge Victoria as a patron and say that I'm not sure it's what you meant to do, because it sounds like you're looking to just be signed up to be able to get access to what is already free right now. michaelmillerpilates.com, also hermit.com, same place. And there's 24 gigabytes of information out there for you to learn about Pilates, at least through the eyes of the MMP point of view, and hopefully you'll find some of it in common with you. So, Victoria, number one, I usually have titles to subjects that I'm making comment on or writing notes about before I do a intermediate reformer workout. That's at michaelmillerpilates.com. Lists, reformer. You know, you have to, I know the menu structure isn't great, but it's the best one that I could put together. And I certainly couldn't pay to have one replace what's there, accessing what is there in terms of menu structure. So, 4 titles today, 4 things. And they sound deep, but maybe they'll come across not so. The first one is, in Pilates, intellect connects to sentiment. The second one is where you can sell stuff. The third one is fading access to Pilates. And the fourth one is Pilates is a call for presence within one's self. Now, as much as I think that takes me so far afield from just pursuing what I've condensed thus far and starting with number 1. In doing that, I've taken a trip around the carousel with you about the subject matter to be covered, and done so at one level of just the titles themselves, and then on subsequent passes of the carousel, expanding on those titles. So in Pilates, intellect connects to sentiment. So to me, your intellect is your thinking. Maybe that's arguable, and somebody wants to compare thinking as this and thinking as that. Which always presses me back into just trying to present to you a point of view where the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit is the complete coordination of being, thinking, and observing. And the thinking is the intellect, and the observing is the sentiment. And it's the coordination of those capacities within any individual that makes for good preparation for whatever comes next, you know, to survive in the jungle. And in the Pilates case, the jungle is gravity, right? And it's in the coordination, in my opinion, of the thinking and the observing is where the magic is. Okay? And as a Pilates instructor, ever vigilant for being Yoda and sending your client into the cave of their own sensation, knowing that they can compare and find more control in what they're after or in how they're moving. So, magic. Okay. Yeah, magic. That's where the magic is. That's why in Facebook all the time when somebody shows up on my screen, I only use their first name. Don't try to, commit them too much, but I also want to make the point that when I hold up my magic mirror and I look through my magic mirror, I can see who's watching me. And so I'm watching them watching me. Observing is the key word here, because in MMP, observing is something other than thinking, and the thinking is in prefrontal cortex, and the observing is amygdala, hippocampal areas of the brain, and it's in those two capacities within our own head that coordinate with the rest of our being in the pursuit of the performance of the ideal represented by the mat, represented in the mat, in the doing of the mat. And I know everybody stood up and said, but there's so many people that will never get even there. One exercise maybe, all of that's true. But all the more important to recognize the grammar and the syntax within the mat in order to extend what's there ideally to whatever else you want to make up. So then, in terms of number 2, where you can sell stuff. So I'm a big advocate of making your own recordings, audio, video, not of yourself even maybe, just put stuff, record stuff, clouds, people walking if they let you, anything, but create data that you can then sell. And I want you to become a presenter of CT and MMP, because that's where I think you can make the most money, exchanging the best value, which is why you make the most money. To be a presenter, in my case, that I'm trying to set an example for you, at udemy.com, you can go buy a course of mine for $10 and have a PowerPoint presentation that you can download, put on your phone or tablet, and project to a large screen. That PowerPoint presentation just covers 3 things from Joe and 2 things from me, and it will never all sink in on the first pass. In a presentation, you want to make at least 3 passes saying the same thing, or maybe hopefully at progressive levels of depth in each pass. My point is that through that course, a file exists that when you buy the course, you get to download the file, and you can do that too. If you have a PowerPoint presentation that you like, or anything else that you can wrap a course around, and of course, having a course is good too. But I didn't find enough of my own passion to make the course so much more than it could be. You can sell stuff on Amazon. Everybody knows that. I recommend whatever it is electronic, so that you don't have to deal with paper and ink. FedEx, you can make money selling stuff. You can sell paper and ink. So coming from on Amazon, just sell stuff electronically. And with FedEx is where you convert something to paper and ink and then ship it. Or within the United States, I'm reaching for printing it there and having it picked up to avoid the shipping of the paper. And yet, having it paper and ink that's picked up so that you keep control of whatever you're printing out. You can sell stuff on Zazzle. Zazzle.com. Now people have to want it, but it's at least there. You can go buy a Cornu t-shirt on Zazzle. You can buy a mug, which I of course don't have, but you can buy a mug with Cornu on it. You can buy gift cards of favorite images of Pilates of mine that you can customize in the printing, meaning adding, you can add your own printing to the card. So knowing about that stuff and knowing how to give access people that want stuff with your brand on it. Now they gotta want it, but so number 3, fading access to Pilates. Fading, as in it's receding from you. The base of people doing Pilates is so wide, and the peak is so narrow and so flat. The pyramid of people in Pilates is so wide at the base and not very tall at all. And because of that, it seems normal to predict that the tribes, meaning the lineages of Pilates, will always seek to keep what they know through folklore as pure as they can. And in that effort, be exclusive to who they share it with, based on the lineages that they participate in, you participate in. There will always be different points of view. And so the great thing about the POV of MMP, the point of view of Michael Miller Pilates, is that it's there for what it is out in plain view. Number 4. I'm not sure I addressed number 3 well enough or accurately enough, but number 4, Pilates is a call for presence within one's self. For presence within one's self. And that's just a fancy way of saying a call for your coordination of your being, thinking, and observing. The presence is connected to the thinking. There's coordination between what's going on out there, beyond what's in here, and there being a coordination between the two. And that the coordination of those two are in the pursuit of ideal movement. Yes, yes. Sorry, it is what it is. And you are in pursuit of it. Your pursuit of doing Pilates. And Pilates is something specific, both in form of the mat and an abstraction of that. My best is uniform eccentric loading flowing through progressive patterns of movement, but something that reflects the grammar that's already there. And in understanding and recognizing the grammar, see, that's what everybody wants, is a comprehension of what's there in grammar so that one can speak the language, period. So that one can speak the language. I mean, you have to recognize it as a language to then make an attempt to speak it as one. And of course, with Pilates, the results of how you interpret the language are in the change in your student or yourself. So it is, see, so my notes go all the way through. It's like the pursuit of the ideal. Yes, sorry. In Pilates and MMP, I know it's not PC, but in Pilates, maybe politically correct, because everything's about the individual, and that, you know, it doesn't matter that if there's an ideal or not. It's how the individual, blah blah blah. That point of view. The MMP POV is that Pilates has an essence of its own, and the pursuit of that essence is a pursuit of ideal movement. Any other view of Pilates is great. Have whatever view you want. But in MMP, it's the pursuit of an ideal. And it's what comes out of the pursuit of the ideal as real is your best effort at that. See? I think my audience on Facebook misses out insofar as getting my first run through on my notes. Because there's an element of discovery and excitement from the passion that is hopefully more refined and better expressed the second time around. But if I really liked the subject matter, I would want to see both performances. So Victoria, thank you for being a patron. I hope you value it enough to increase your patronage. I hope my current patrons feel the same way. Because even if I'm not here anymore, sucking air. Supporting MMP and CT is supporting a point of view about biomechanics, one mountain, and a point of view of Pilates. And because it's an ideal point of view based on a theory and not a view based on or rooted in folklore and word of mouth and lineages, it's outside of a lineage perspective. That's why it's transcendent. It goes beyond what currently exists, from what's considered to be common knowledge to private knowledge, in that it's knowledge about subjects that aren't commonly known. That's why it's private. So my last word here almost is surviving. It's about surviving. It always comes back to running through the jungle, and that's gravity. And knowing that your body has this wonderful ability in it to make tension between endpoints of rotation, between axes of rotation, and that in doing that, it distributes the usage of your musculature. Not exactly like, I know the science is different, but the target in Joe's book of Contrology Develops the Body Uniformly, well, do you believe that or not? Do you take him at his word or not? Is Pilates whole body or isn't it? And if it is whole body, and you're just hearing this for the first time, it's the MMP POV. Actually, I'm saying that wrong. It's Michael Miller's opinion, my opinion. Michael Miller is pointing to the biomechanics of core tension. That's why it's two mountains and not just one. I'm sharing with you an opinion, a profession, that the body engages itself in oppositional rotation between axes. That's just how the body moves through space. And in doing so, it maximizes the uniform engagement that you're reaching for. You're headed toward that in the ideal, so anything that approaches that is approaching more uniform engagement of your musculature, and therefore moving in more whole body way, or developing your body uniformly because you're uniformly engaged. Uniform engagement isn't a clench, a click. It isn't a squeeze. It's dynamic tension, and it takes dynamic tension to get to uniform engagement. I have a teacher that's talking to me about tensegrity as a means of engagement, and I have no idea what they're talking about there. I can recognize that my hips rotate, and shoulders and ears and knees and ankles and metatarsals, and that those rotational dynamics interact with each other, and the more they do, the more uniformly engaged I am. And I think you can be too. So that's the huge mountain that identifies how to be uniform, how to reach for uniform engagement. The other mountain is just one point of view of Pilates that I've already explained. And I'm so grateful I got a chance to, because life can't live forever. Read between the lines, see behind the curtain, Evaluate points of view. MMP sets you down on the totem pole of the Pilates Monument Valley for a point of view that lets you look around and see what's there. You don't always have to come from there, but it's nice to know what the view is like from there. Then it's time to add 2 and 2, and we already talked about ways to make money that you can sell it what you recorded. I have a friend that just takes I have an acquaintance or somebody I know, however, somebody that takes 1 minute snapshots of places. They're all 1 minute long. But they're recordings and they're you. And the world is so big and vast that eventually you'll probably tap into someone that appreciates your point of view. Or not, but without doing the recording, you won't have any product to sell. Because it's about adding 2 and 2 as part of surviving. And if you want to survive as a Pilates instructor, I think it's important to know what that means for you, to you. And the more I think you appreciate Pilates for what it is, you will want unique ways of exchanging value for value and adding 2 and 2. I sent a PayPal invoice, and evidently that worked because it happened. And perhaps that's as simple as it needs to be, because all I needed was an email address. Of course, I need a PayPal account too. All of that, add 2 and 2. Direct your thinking. In this tsunami wave, there's a lot of money and a lot of thinking going on. And a lot of cash flows that are ongoing that want to stay that way and increase it. It's human nature. Figure out where and how you want to surf, especially because you have a point of view that steps outside of folklore and embraces theory. Direct your thinking and Geist.